Yeah. Yeah. In the last class, we have seen the Z transforms of the positive time exponential as well as the negative time exponential. Today, we shall see another infinite sequence, that is a double-sided exponential. Okay. Now, the double-sided exponential looks like this. Okay. In double-sided exponential, you have the positive time exponential as well as the negative time exponential. Understand that? See here, you have positive time exponential and the negative time exponential. So along with both positive and negative time exponentials, okay, this is x of n, which is called as double-sided exponential sequence. Now, if you have understood the positive time exponential, negative time exponential, then you can directly substitute those values and ROCs here. Okay, I have done that. I've not gone in detail again for dealing with this signal and this signal. Okay, since we already have dealt with this positive time exponential and negative time exponential. Okay, so let's not go again deeper into it, but just I'll tell you what we are doing from whatever we have derived in our previous classes. Okay, we are substituting that here. So one thing that you need to remember is this particular signal ranges from 0 to infinity. Okay, and this signal ranges from minus infinity to minus 1. Okay, minus infinity to minus 1 is the range of this, 0 to infinity is the range of this. Okay, you take the same equation for x of z. Okay, and in place of x of n, you bring this particular double-sided exponential. Fine, then you apply the summation to both these sequences. Okay, and here when you apply the summation to this sequence, since u of n is 1, for 0 to infinity, this minus infinity to infinity would become 0 to infinity for this particular parameter along with z to the power of minus n. Okay, the z to the power of minus n would come here, and that is what we have. Similarly, this signal along with z to the power of minus n, this is 1 from minus infinity to minus 1. So this being substituted as 1, you'll be left with minus b to the power n z to the power of minus. That minus is taken here. Fine. Now we have dealt with this summation earlier. We have dealt with this summation earlier. Okay. So with that idea, we have seen this particular z transform would become z by z minus a, and this would become z by z minus b. Okay, this is something that we have done individually. Okay, this only we have done and this only we have done. Now it's the combination of two. Again, we need not have to do the whole steps again and again. Okay, so this is what we need to understand. Fine. Now see here, what is the ROC? ROC is z greater than a. That means what? There is a circle that you need to draw with radius a, and ROC is greater than a means the ROC of the positive time exponential outside the circle, whose radius is a. Similarly, if you come here, the ROC of negative time exponential is z less than b. What is z less than b? The ROC is within the circle whose radius is b. This is the meaning of that. What is ROC of positive time exponential? ROC of positive time exponential is outside the circle with radius a. ROC of negative time exponential is inside the circle with radius b. Now this together is the z transform of double-sided exponential. Okay, so we need to combine these ROC. We have written these ROCs separately for positive time exponential and negative time exponential, but since it's a combined signal, we need to combine the ROC also. Okay, see here, the ROC is combined. Get that point? So z is greater than a, z is less than b. So see, z is greater than a, z is less than b. So that is combined. Z is greater than a, z is less than b. Why we wrote it like this? Because we are writing the ROC of only one signal. We have showed it separately here, but you should understand x of z is the combination of the x of z's of positive time exponential as well as negative time exponential. So we are combining the ROCs. If you combine ROC, what happens? See here, for positive time exponential, the ROC is beyond this, that means greater than a. So wherever you go, it's a. Wherever you go, it's a. Okay, because it's magnitude of a. Fine. If you mark your pole here, okay, the other pole would come here because plus a as well as minus a. That's why you have to draw a circle of radius a. So after drawing the circle of radius a, it very clearly says that ROC is z greater than a. That means beyond this is your ROC. Okay, and there is another ROC which says that this z is less than b. That means you need to draw another circle of radius b. See, you need to draw another circle with radius b, and another ROC is saying that the ROC is less than b. So ROC is less than b and greater than a. So what's happening here? So you are forming an ROC which is looking like a ring here, which is looking like a ring. If you take this separately, it's outside the circle. If you take this separately, it's inside the circle. If you combine them, it's a ring which says that it's greater than a as well as less than b. So this is how the ROC plot of positive time exponent of double-sided exponential sequence is going to look like. Okay, so whatever we have done so far, okay, whether it is the z transform of the finite sequences or z transform of infinite sequences, okay, uh, all that would be again recalled in the properties of ROC. Properties of ROC is very popular as far as the examination is concerned, because it's a popular question in exam. Okay, hope that would appear this time also. Now, what is that we're doing in properties? Whatever we have learned so far with the finite the three finite sequences and the other three infinite sequences, all that knowledge that we have gained needs to be expressed step by step. So that would be the list of properties for ROC. So what I mean is this. See, the first property of ROC says that the ROC cannot contain any poles. The very first property says ROC cannot contain any poles. That means when we mark our poles, that pole cannot be within the ROC. It can be there on the boundary. What I mean is, I'll just show you that with a figure. You'll understand. See, this is the pole. This is the pole we have marked. Okay, and this pole is not, this is the ROC. The shaded part is ROC. This is the example that we have taken, that you have seen. This is the ROC plot for positive time exponential. Okay, if you see the plot of ROC plot for positive time exponential, you'll see the ROC is here, the pole is here. Okay, and we have drawn a circle with a as the radius. Okay, and it very clearly says that for the positive time exponential, the ROC is z greater than a. That means whole of this region outside the circle is the ROC. Now this pole is on the boundary of the ROC. It's on the edge. Okay, it's not within. It's not within the ROC region. You see, ROC is marked here, which means that all the shaded part would constitute the region of convergence. Okay, so what you should understand here is, when they say the pole is not the ROC does not contain any pole, you should understand that it can be there on the boundary, but it should not be there within the ROC. So another example that we could see here is the pole. This is the region of convergence plot for the negative time exponential. See here, the negative time exponential. Fine. So what is region of convergence? Region of convergence is within the circle with radius b. Again, see, this pole b is on the boundary of ROC, is not within ROC. You can see here there can be a zero within ROC, region of convergence, but there cannot be a pole within region of convergence. It can only be on the boundary or on the edge of region of convergence. That is what is the meaning of this is. Property 1 very clearly says the ROC cannot contain any poles. Again, when it says it cannot contain any poles, the poles that we mark can be there on the boundary, but it cannot be within the ROC is what is the meaning of this. Okay, moving on to the next property. Okay, this is something that we saw for the finite sequences. Okay, you remember we had considered this type of signal. Had considered this type of signal. You remember? Yes, right. So what was the Z transform of this? We had found out Z transform. Now we are discussing the ROC. What was the ROC of this? ROC of the right-sided sequence, the finite right-sided sequence, is the entire Z plane except Z equal to 0. See here? It is, they call it as finite causal sequence. What is the causal sequence? Causal sequence is right-sided sequence. Any right-sided sequence, including the zeroth sample, is called as right-sided sequence. Okay, and for such a right-sided causal sequence, ROC is the entire Z plane except Z equal to 0. Okay, if you don't understand this, you need to go and visit the material that I have looked into the material that I have posted in Google Classroom. Okay, it's very clearly dealt over there, and it's too much of time has been spent on that. Okay, so you should not have any doubts regarding why it is being said so. Okay, it's very clearly done as an exercise. Okay, and the same material is also being posted in your Google Classroom. Go visit that and look into that material. You'll get to understand, those who don't remember what is this talking about. So if you consider a finite right-sided sequence, the ROC of any such finite right-sided sequence, okay, would be the entire Z plane except Z equal to 0. That is what is the meaning of this. Which is the meaning, it means that except Z equal to 0, for all other values of Z, x of Z is finite. For Z equal to 0, x of Z is going to be infinite. That's why leaving this, the whole other part of Z would be ROC. Okay, so this is for this I've given just for the reference. So if you don't understand what is causal sequence is right-sided sequence, which looks like this. This is just an example that we had taken. For any such signal which is right-sided, which is causal, okay, the ROC is entire Z plane except Z equal to 0. This is the second property. Similarly, the third property would be for left-sided sequence. How is left-sided sequence being referred to here? The left-sided sequence is being referred to as non-causal sequence. Okay, non-causal. If the right-sided sequence is being called as causal sequence, the left-sided sequence is referred to as non-causal sequence. Understand, in causal sequence also zeroth sample is there. In non-causal sequence also zeroth sample is there. Understand that? But it was not the same with positive exponential and negative exponential. In positive exponential, it is from 0 to infinity. In negative time exponential, it is from minus infinity to minus 1. So in negative time exponential, the zeroth sample is not there. You should understand. But in right-sided and left-sided sequence, okay, in causal and non-causal sequence, you should understand the zeroth sample is there. Okay, and for such left-sided sequence, the ROC is entire Z plane except Z equal to infinity. Understand this? This is also dealt with. Okay, so except Z equal to 0, what why they are saying? Because for such a sequence, okay, at Z equal to infinity, x of Z would get infinite. So except Z equal to infinity, left everything remaining, all the values of Z would constitute ROC is the meaning of this property. This is something that's why I said this is the list of the things that we already have learned. Fine. So if after discussing the right-sided sequence and left-sided sequence, it's the turn for the two-sided or double-sided sequence. In double-sided sequence, how see the right-sided sequence looks like this, left-sided sequence looks like this. In double-sided sequence, you have negative side as well as the positive side, or the left side as well as the right side. Understand that? Okay, so for such a double-sided sequence, the ROC is entire Z plane except Z equal to 0 and Z equal to infinity. Why? This is the combination of right-sided as well as left-sided. This is left-sided. This is right-sided. So it's a combination of both left-sided and right-sided. So except z equal to 0 and except z equal to infinity, both needs to be uh, taken into consideration. Okay. So what is that we have in the properties second, third, and fourth? What we have seen, whatever we had learned, keeping in consideration the finite sequence, finite right-sided, finite left-sided, finite double-sided. Okay, all that is listed here. Fine. So what would be the ROC for finite sequences? ROC for finite right-sided sequence is entire Z plane except Z equal to 0. For left-sided sequence, it is entire Z plane except Z equal to infinity. For double-sided sequence, it's entire Z plane except Z equal to 0 and Z equal to infinity. So that is what we've written. Okay, and this is just for your reference. You need not have to, you can stop your statements here. This is something that I have taken for your reference. Fine. Now, the fifth property. Okay, the fifth property, they have generalized this statement, which you will find very difficult to understand. But taking this example, they are when they write the properties of ROC, they are generalizing it. All the statements are generalized. You can see here. If you see this, if x of n is finite causal sequence, then ROC is the entire. They are not saying that for this particular uh, finite causal sequence. No, for any particular finite causal sequence. So they are making the statements generalized. We understood all this taking these examples, but when writing the ROCs, they are generalizing the statements. So if you have to generalize, you need to be really good with the examples that you have discussed. What is this example? This is, what is this example? This is positive time exponential. For positive time exponential, what was it? For a positive time exponential, ROC is outside z equal to a circle. This is called as z equal to a circle, which means that this is a circle with radius A. The circle with radius A is referred to as Z equal to A circle. What is A here? A is a pole. Understand that? And A is a pole with maximum value. That means if there are two poles in this particular example, okay, we have just found one pole, that is A. Suppose there are more than two poles. Understand that? More than two poles. Say A1 and A2. A1 and A2. Suppose what we have marked is A2 and A1 we mark somewhere here. So A2 would be greater than A1 that we marked here. So in that case, we have to consider the pole with the maximum value. Okay. Then draw that circle with the value of maximum radius. That is what is the meaning of this. Here, R max means the radius or the pole with maximum value. Why did I call this as a radius A? Because there is a pole at A, Z equal to A. Fine. The ROC is outside this circle. How to say that? Z is greater than A, we said. So similarly, they are saying Z is greater than R max. Why did they say R max? Suppose there are two poles, we need to consider the value which is maximum. Okay, so it says, if there are multiple poles, okay, then you have to consider the maximum valued pole. Okay, and Z would be greater than that maximum valued pole. Okay, so it says, it very clearly says, where R max equals the largest magnitude of any pole of x of z, thus ROC is exterior to the circle with Z equal to R max. Exterior to z equal to R max means this is Z equal to a circle. This is Z equal to a circle, which can also be referred to as Z equal to R max circle. That means the maximum radius circle. Understand? In the Z plane, with the possible exception of Z equal to infinity is not there. Okay, the possible exception is Z equal to infinity, because we have not plotted any pole there. Okay, so this is what is the meaning of this. So if you cannot generalize this statement, you can just say that for any for any uh, positive time exponential, okay, the ROC is outside z equal to R max circle. The ROC is outside z equal to R max. So this is the example that you need to consider for reference. Okay, so this is an example we have sought, and for that we have plotted the uh, region of convergence, and this is the generalized statement, and it means that for any positive time exponential, okay, the ROC is outside the circle. The ROC is outside the circle of the radius A. In this case, it's radius A. If you generalize, it is called as, the A should be called as R max. That means pole with maximum value. This R max is the pole with maximum value. Understand? So for positive time exponential, it is outside the circle. For negative time exponential, how they are referring to that positive time exponential? See, X of n is a causal infinite length sequence. They are referring to, this is a exponential signal. Okay, so how to generalize this signal? Infinite length sequence, causal infinite length sequence. That means it is right-sided causal, right-sided infinite length. This is right-sided infinite length signal. The range is from 0 to infinity. Understand that? So for causal sequence, okay, so this is the RO should be outside the circle. Okay. Similarly, for non-causal infinite length signal. Infinite length signal means, non-causal means what? Left-sided. And left-sided infinite length signal, which one we have seen? We have seen this. This is an example again. But how do you refer to this? How do you generalize this? You generalize this by saying it is non-causal infinite length sequence. Then the ROC is of the form z less than infinity. That means if you have uh, multiple poles, you have to consider the pole with the minimum value, draw the radius, draw the circle with that particular radius with R minimum. Okay, and if you do that, the ROC would be within that circle. That is what it is, less than R minimum. There are multiple. Suppose there is, this is B1 and this is B2, and B1 is less than B2, means you have to draw the circle with radius B1. That is what is the meaning of R minimum. Understand that? So if there are multiple poles, consider the pole with the minimum value, draw the circle with R minimum as the radius, okay, and that circle would be referred to as Z equal to R minimum circle, okay, and for any non-causal infinite length sequence, the ROC would be within the circle, okay. Here it is outside the circle for infinite length causal sequence. For infinite length non-causal sequence, it is within the circle. Okay, that is what is the meaning of property 6. Fine. Now, property 7, as we have seen today. Okay, property 7 is about two-sided sequence with infinite duration. What is the two-sided sequence with infinite duration? We saw this is the sequence that we have seen. Okay, this is the exponential example we have taken. It need not be exponential. It is any infinite duration which is two-sided, which is on both this side and both this side. Okay, of n, I mean, not z, of n, on n axis. Okay, on left hand side, also right hand side. And what is the range of such a signal? Two-sided infinite length duration signal, it's minus infinity to plus infinity. So if you find any two-sided sequence, okay, with range minus infinity to plus infinity, then region of convergence is greater than R1 and less than R2. What is R1 here? R1 is A in this example. R2 is B in this example. Okay. So for positive time exponential, the ROC should be outside this A and outside this Z equal to A circle, and within this Z equal to B circle. Here it's outside this circle, Z equal to A circle, and uh, within the Z equal to B circle. Z equal to A circle means Z equal to R1. Z equal to B circle means Z equal to R2 circles. Understand that? So the region of convergence is within Z equal to Z greater than A and Z less than B. A is referred to as R1 and B is referred to as R2 for generalization. They are generalizing the statement here. Okay, and we have considered this example to understand this generalization. Okay with that? Okay, I repeat again, what is this circle called as? We till now we said this is the circle with radius A. What is A? A is the pole. A is the pole. Understand? So draw a circle with A as the radius. We said. Now what would you say? Draw a circle with R1 as the radius. Draw a circle with R2 as the radius. Okay, that is what you'll be saying. So this is the circle. This is the circle which can be referred as Z equal to B circle in particular, or in general it can be called as Z equal to R2 circle. This is called as Z equal to R1 circle. Get that? Okay, so ROC is outside this Z equal to R1 circle and inside this Z equal to R2 circle. So the region of convergence is a ring for double-sided infinite length sequence. Okay, understand this? Okay, I'll be forming questions on this, and I'll be putting I'll be giving you some quiz sort of a thing. We will plan that. Okay, very shortly, and you can attend that, and it will be very clear to you. Okay, now what is the next property? The property says that ROC of an LTI stable system contains the unit circle in the Z plane. Okay, where when we discuss about the properties of the system, we have discussed about the stability. If you remember, we have discussed about the stability. Fine. What is being stable? The stable system was also called as BIBO stable. How did we check that? Bounded input, bounded output. That is what is called as BIBO stable system. BIBO is bounded input. For any bounded input x of n, if the output y of n is also bounded, okay, then such a system is called as stable system. Okay, they say LTI here. LTI means the linear time invariant stable system. So they have taken these three properties together. There is a system which is linear, time invariant, as well as stable system. For linear time invariant stable system, okay, the ROC contains the unit circle. What is unit circle? Unit circle is the circle with radius 1. Get this point? What is Z equal to A circle? Z equal to A circle is the circle with radius A. Z equal to B circle, magnitude Z equal to B circle is circle with radius B. What is unit circle? Unit circle is Z equal to one circle. Unit circle is Z equal to one circle, which means that unit circle is a circle with radius equal to 1. Okay. For linear time invariant stable system, the ROC contains the unit circle. What is the meaning of that? Suppose if you have to see this, so say B is greater than 1. B is greater than 1. Okay, which means that unit circle would be within this Z equal to B circle. Unit circle would be within this Z equal to. When would unit circle be within Z equal to B circle? Unit circle would be within Z equal to B circle when B is greater than 1. Okay, and if that unit circle is within the ROC, if that unit circle is within the ROC, then it means that the linear time invariant system is also stable. So for an LTI stable system, LTI means it is linear time invariant stable system, the unit circle is within the ROC, or ROC of such a system consists of the unit circle. What happens if B is less than 1? If B is less than 1, the unit circle would be outside the region of convergence. If B is less than 1, unit circle would be outside the region of convergence. Understand? So if it is outside the region of convergence, then the system is not stable, is the meaning of that. Okay, that is what is the eighth property is talking about. Okay, the ROC of an linear time invariant stable system contains the unit circle in Z plane. Understand? Property 9. Okay, the last property says ROC must be a connected region. It should not be a separated region. That means nowhere we have seen two ROCs. Okay, nowhere we have seen two separated ROCs. Understand? Okay, so that is what is the meaning of they're connected region. See, here it is connected, it is one ring, one region, all connected. It's not there is no separation here in the ROC. So that is why the ROC is connected. So it is one connected region here. Similarly, here it is one connected region. Understand? That is what is the meaning of ROC is connected. Okay, the ROC must be a connected region, means there cannot be separation between the ROC. There cannot be two separated region of convergence. There can just be one region of convergence, and that region of convergence is very much connected. It's not a separated region of convergence. Understand that? That is what is the meaning of the ninth property. Is that okay with you? So these 9 properties you need to be listing if you're asked to list the properties of region of convergence. Understand? Okay. So with this, we'll move on to our next topics, that is properties of Z transform. Okay. In the last semester, you have studied network analysis. In network analysis, there was a chapter called Laplace transforms. And I've told you in the introduction of this particular chapter, that is Laplace transforms are for continuous time. Okay. Z transforms are for discrete time signals. Understand? Absolutely no difference other than this. It's only for the Laplace are for continuous time signals. The Z transforms are for discrete time signals. Understand? So except this particular difference, all other things remain the same. That means there also we discussed the properties, if you remember. Okay, the linearity we have discussed. Okay, time invariance we have discussed. That means if you negate the time, what happens? Okay, if you have a shift in time, what happens? Okay, if you have differentiation in Z domain, if you have differentiation in S domain, what happens? So that will be discussed as the differentiation in Z domain. All the properties that we have seen in Laplace transform, okay, the same properties are going to be seen in Z transforms, but in discrete time. Okay, so as and when we refer to this, you will be understanding the first property is linearity, which is quite a simple property. Okay, so if you have Z being applied on x1 of n, then it looks like x1 of z. If you apply Z transform on x2 of n, it looks like x2 of z. Okay, and what are these signals? Always when we go for linearity, it's not the signals x1 of n, x2 of n we consider the sum of these two signals. And this is not x1 of n plus x2 of n. What is this a1 a2 doing here? A1 is the weight that we have assigned to x1 of n. What is that weight? WEIGHT. Okay, it's not WAIT. It's not the time, it's the weight. WEIGHT. So this is a weighted signal. This also is a weighted signal. Okay, A2 x2 of n is a weighted signal. A1 x1 of n is a weighted signal. So what is the sum of this? Sum of the weighted signals, or some people even call this as weighted sum of the signals. So if you apply Z transform on weighted sum of the signals, you'll be able to take this A1 out and apply Z transform only on x1 of n. You'll be able to take this A2 out and apply Z transform only on x2 of n. Okay, so if you do that, it would be looking like A1 x1 of z plus A2 x of z. That means apply transform on this. You're not applying transforms on scalars. You're applying transforms on the signals. So in that sense, it should look like this. So we'll be going with the proof of that. Okay, but we'll stop here, and I want everybody of you to give your attendance in chat. Okay, can you go on with the chat? We have 44 students, and I want all the 44 students to please give your attendance in chat window. Yeah, I think you can go on now. Good. I'm trying to go as low as possible so that it should be very clear to you. Sometimes I sound very repetitive. I understand that sometimes, and that looks irritating also. What ಹೇಳಿದ್ದನ್ನೇ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ, no, that why I do that again and again means I'm not in front of you. Okay, I always doubt myself. Am I being clear?